Welcome to the channel. My name's Colin. We're out here in Oaxaca, Mexico on my off-grid property. Today I want to discuss with you all the 5 reasons why I decided to move myself and my family out here. Let's go. Reason number 1 was that it was so much easier for me to get my permanent residency here in Mexico than it was for my wife to get citizenship in the United States. We had started that process, and honestly, just to prove that our marriage was bona fide or real, took about 8 months and $600–700, and it was just really daunting and overwhelming, the task of just getting her to the United States. And we had only just got our feet wet. It just seemed really overwhelming with life happening as it happens to happen sometimes. It was just so much easier for me to move here to Mexico. And especially with my son being born, I was able to have a fast track to get my permanent residency. It only took about 2 weeks, maybe like $400, and now I have a permanent residency card, which means I can stay here as long as I want. Just getting my wife to the United States was pretty difficult as is, and with some of these next reasons, it'll go to show why it just made more sense to stay here. Reason number 2 is it's just more affordable, honestly. The cost of living here in Mexico is much lower. Of course, you can't earn as much here, but one of the nice things is the world's getting so small with the internet and flights that there's a lot of options to live and work remotely. It took everything that I could save up, I could beg, borrow, steal, all of that, just to be able to purchase this land, get a functioning truck, and build the cabin and everything that entails. I'm gonna be working on this property for my whole life, but it's beautiful. It's something that belongs to me, really, genuinely, and it's affordable, it's maintainable. In the United States, I would not have been able to pull this off. Honestly, no. I mean, this is just kind of what was required. With my unique situation with my wife and my son, it just made the most sense to come here to Mexico. And if necessary, my wife can always stay with her mom, and I can return to the United States and, you know, take on a few projects. And with that money that I could make in a month, 2 months, 3 months, me and my family can live comfortably here in Mexico on our property. My time is my most valuable asset to me. So in order to spend the time with my son and my wife, you know, to play in the forest, to build in the trees and share a life that's truly meaningful and not be caught up in just keeping my head above water is incredible. Honestly, it's everything I could have imagined, and I'm just so grateful for this opportunity. I couldn't be happier. So reason number 2, affordability. Reason number 3 is security and freedom. For instance, in the United States, it seems that there are so many things that can completely ruin you. You know, whether it's missing a rent payment, you can't pay your mortgage, you know, you have a medical emergency. It seems that, you know, the majority of the US citizens are just hanging by a thread, doing whatever they can to maintain this life, you know, to keep their heads up above water. And, you know, things now, job security just isn't what it used to be. We don't have those jobs that last, you know, our whole career, that have benefits, pensions, retirement plans. That just doesn't exist anymore. Like, for me, my work has been, you know, it come and go. There's high times, there's low times. I'd only work for part of the season and take the rest off. It was never secured, never for sure. And, you know, especially with having a son and a wife, you know, when I was in my 20s, I was able to, you know, live a lot more loosely, you know, just out of my car. And with the rentals, the Airbnb rentals that were provided through the companies I worked for. So I was able to to not pay rent for a lot of years. And so that was my way of having, you know, that freedom and that disposable income to travel and explore. But now, you know, with having a son and my wife, I'm at a point in my life, you know, I'm early 30s, 32, and I need to be responsible. I need some stability and some security. And, you know, doing that in the United States, especially with my wife and son being Mexican citizens, it just wasn't really on the list. You know, I didn't really feel like working so much just to provide. I mean, what would be the point if I'm working all the time to be able to afford just to have a rental and school, and all the cost of living in the United States is enormous, you know? I don't know, you name it. It seems like every single step that you need to take in the United States just to live, just to survive, is charged, regulated. Someone wants a piece of that pie, you know, and it just gets to be too much. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to take out a mortgage or have, you know, this multi-decade long commitment based upon whatever income I'm earning at the time. Because, I mean, things change, jobs happen, economies fail, change, you know, and to put all of that energy and time into something that didn't really belong to me, that I could lose at any moment, didn't make sense to me. So, I mean, coming here, I have the liberty to build, you know, this land. We put it in my wife's name since she's a Mexican citizen, but it's ours. I put it in my wife and son's name. And, you know, I have the liberty, the freedom to build however I want. No one is here checking to make sure that I'm following this code, this rule. I can't live here. It's uninhabitable. It's got to be these dimensions. That doesn't exist here. No one cares. It's fantastic. And, you know, just to have that security that my son and my wife will never be homeless. We have a home. And yeah, it was a lot of work, but I think, you know, in the span of a 2-year period, to go from living out of my car and Airbnbs at the company to having a stable foundation, some land, a house. I mean, life happened fast. Right before my son was born, I lost my job, and I had to come up with something quick. And, you know, this was a blessing that this all worked out. And we have security here. I don't feel unsafe. The United States, I was just watching a video yesterday where I think we're number 170 something in safest countries in the world. That's down there. US is not safe. I've been all over the US working, and there's a lot of places that I don't feel secure. Here in Mexico, I've spent the last 8 years traveling all over Mexico, in and out, and not just the touristy areas, all parts. And I've never felt unsafe, you know? You just kind of got to keep your head on you. You know, you don't go walking down dark alleys late at night in sketchy parts of town, you know? You just got to be smart. But I feel really secure here, and especially where we're at. We're in a tiny village, you know? Everyone here knows everyone here, and, you know, they've been here, their grandparents, their great-grandparents, you know, everyone, they don't leave. Everyone knows everyone, and it's a small, trustworthy community. No one is going to break into our house. No one's going to steal anything. No one's going to bother my son. You know, he can grow up here and play and have his freedom. And, you know, they have a good school. And, you know, with online, you know, we have knowledge at our fingertips and access. So, I mean, there's literally no limitations, it seems like, as far as what the capabilities are for learning and acquiring knowledge. Another thing, of course, the police here are corrupt. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that it's more than likely that police are corrupt in most governments. But one of the differences is here is, you know, they're just looking for their little cut. You know, I've paid my fair share of, they call it a mordida, a bite, you know, a bribe. I've definitely paid my fair share here. But, you know, it's one and done. And as time goes on, and you learn Spanish, and you learn how to negotiate, you can usually keep out of them or get away with paying very minimal. But it's one and done. You're finished, you're on your way, on with your day. In the United States, it seems that the police force, you know, militarized, they're like actively out to get you. And that's another way that your whole life can change in a minute. You think you're free, and, you know, whatever can pass and happen. You have a bad day, or, you know, whatever, you can, you know, there's people that lost their lives entirely over drug charges, you know, non-violent offenses, and then can't find a job afterwards. I mean, that can be life-destroying. It's not a game. I mean, from a young age, from 15, you know, 14 on to early 20s, you know, I was pretty rebellious, and I got in a lot of trouble with the police, you know, pretty petty stuff, but I was wrapped up in the criminal justice system, and once you're in it, it's hard to get out. And I think, just because of the color of my skin and white privilege, I was able to get out of a lot of it, also by abiding the rules and, keeping my nose to the grindstone, eyes down, don't throw me in jail, please. I'll just keep doing what you want. I was able to get out. But, there's a lot of people that's not the case. Here, it's not like that. The police aren't actively trying to destroy you. In the U.S., it's a for-profit system, the prison industrial complex, and it's terrible. And I mean, I could go on and on and on about the failing systems of the United States, but it's, I feel free here. The United States is losing its freedom, and I feel like the economy is on the decline, and it's falling, and I don't want to be there when it happens. So I want me and my family to be free and secure here in Mexico. Here in Mexico, they're really friendly to entrepreneurs. Honestly, to start a business, it's as simple as, putting up a shop and throwing up, hey, tamales, or we're selling hats, we're selling whatever, Everyone that I know has some kind of business that they're running, A lot of people here will have their little tienda that just sells, drinks, cheese, eggs, just a little general store, and a lot of people will be running that out of their house. And no one's going to come pester you about where's your sales tax license, where's this, that, or the other thing, For the United States to be so free, we sure have to follow a lot of rules. Here, that doesn't matter. My plan to have my treehouse rentals is, I'm just going to have a treehouse and I'm going to rent it out. It's a simple transaction between me and my clients. It's going to be pretty simple. I like that. I don't have that freedom in the United States. Mexico doesn't want to really mess with anybody. The US, we're always getting involved in everyone's everything all over the world. Mexico just doesn't mess with anybody either, which is nice. We're not in the center of everyone's focus. The US, we just have to meddle in everyone's business all over the world, and I don't necessarily want to be a part of that. I don't feel safe being in a country that's so under the magnifying glass, that's just constantly bothering the rest of the world, Here in Mexico, it's pretty calm. They don't mess with anybody. They have their problems, but, I don't think we're at risk of anything pretty drastic. There's a lot of restrictions here on guns. It's really hard to get a gun here in Mexico. I don't have one. I'm going to admit it. I don't. And I feel perfectly fine with that. In the United States, everyone and their grandmother seems to have a gun. And, if something goes off there, it's not going to be pretty. Here I feel comfortable. And, this kind of leads into my fourth point about culture. So let's get into that. Number 4 is I prefer the culture of Mexico. Honestly, the culture in the United States, it seems like when I think about it, what do we identify? What is our culture? It's U.S. citizens. It seems to consume and materialism, and to just constantly be working and hustling to, have more. I really enjoy the quote, people buying things they can't afford with money they can't have to impress people that don't care. And I think that really captures the U.S. culture. Always looking, we're constantly bombarded by advertisements and, showing that, our life could be better, or, what someone else has, or what product we need. And I feel like that just gives us an emptiness. If you put your value in life on things, things come and go. I've had a lot, I've had not that much. I've been on all sides of the spectrum, and if you put your value and your happiness in possessions and things, you're never going to be happy. You're going to be unstable. Here in Mexico, they have family values. My wife, she's 38, and, she spent most of her life living with her 2 siblings and her mother, and they're perfectly happy with that. They talk every day, and it's normal here, I think part of that is that a lot of the people here in Mexico, they haven't had a lot, as far as materialism, possessions, but, they have a lot more than many people in the United States as far as really strong connections and family. And I really don't want to raise my son in that kind of system. I don't want my son to be raised you know, looking for something else. Well, look, Timmy over here has this, or Samantha was saying that my shirt isn't, well, whatever, you know. I want him to put value in the things that matter, in time, in relationships, in our life. You know, I want him to grow up, you know, being rich, but really wealthy, with relationships, and to put value in himself and his character, as opposed to possessions and things that can come and go, that are fleeting. So, I mean, that's a big one for me, is I love the culture here, and I want my son to grow up knowing what to really value in life. Something that I'm still working on is learning just how to slow down, you know, growing up in the US, you know, since pretty young, I've been doing everything I can to keep my head above water, to, you know, while enjoying life, and traveling, working, but, you know, with the US mindset, you know, I'm just running around all the time, just go, 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 go. And, you know, it's just, a lot of it's fear-based, you know, living out of fear. And I've got to just keep running and rushing. If I slow down, you know, it's all going to catch up to me, or it's all going to fall apart. And that's something that I'm still working on. You know, my wife, being Mexican, you know, she sees it very clear. And she's like, hey, relax. And, you know, everything here in Mexico is like, con calma, tranquilo, ya vamos a hacer eso. En un rato, ya, no, porque hay prisa. It's like, you know, why? Just like, calm down. Yeah, we'll get around to it. You know, and I'm learning. For instance, I've still got to haul a bunch of gravel and sand and work on my footers for our bathroom. But, you know, I just didn't feel like it. It's Sunday. I want to relax, hang out with my son, make a video, and just enjoy the day, you know, and that's fine here. I'm learning to do that and not feel like I'm making a mistake or screwing up. There's a huge sense of community. I mean, the people seem connected, you know. We don't have, I mean, here in Mexico, there's not that same sense of rugged individualism, you know, where we're all competing against each other and pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You know, they help each other. I want to be close with my family, and I want Aiden to grow up with those values. Mwah! We're gonna stay here for the last point, just because Aiden, he needs to be outside. He wants to play. He gets tired of being in his crib and, you know, watching videos. I hate that. So he's having a good time. So we're gonna keep him out here. Reason number 5 for moving off-grid here in Mexico is the weather. You know, I grew up in Colorado in the United States, so I'm used to winters, and I love skiing. I love winter sports, but, you know, it's cold. I hate the cold, I'm not gonna lie. And here, you know, it's eternal spring. Right now, what is it? It's March, and it's fantastic. And I love the mountains, so I'm here. I get the best of both worlds. I'm in the mountains, and, you know, a couple hours away, we've got the beach, Puerto Escondido. It's beautiful. I won't be snowboarding a whole lot, but I want to learn how to surf. I want to learn how to surf with my son here in Puerto Escondido. We're gonna skateboard. I don't know, there's tons of things, but I just love the weather, the beaches. I mean, I hate the cold. The cold's for chumps. I do not want that. So here, also much more affordable with the housing. I don't have to worry about insulation, pipes freezing, breaking, heating the house. I mean, there's just so many benefits to living. I mean, just happiness in general, sun and warmth, you know, the trees all stay green, the plants, you can grow things year round. It's wonderful. Anyways, I think hopefully most of that made sense. Thanks for sticking with me if you've stayed around this long. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. This is a small channel. I'm just kicking things off. It's been barely over a month. So if you're into this and you want some more, let me know. Write me in the comments. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day. Bye. Bye, Eden.